Llegó la hora de conectarte con Jáquers, profesionales, emprendedores, innovadores, líderes, agentes de cambio. Y ahora su moderador, Javier Hernández Acosta.
So, we're here in another episode of Hackers podcast, this time in English, and this time again from Bucharest. We're not in Sagrado this time, and I have the pleasure of having a chance, Traian, and last name?
Traian
Bruma, which is one of the founders of the Alternative University, this wonderful project that we met through a friend, and fortunately through this trip we had the chance to know and to visit, to understand the values behind the project and the hope that we could create different academic projects. So it's an honor to have you here.
It's great to be here. También lo podemos hacer en español.
Podemos cambiar si prefieres español.
No sé, yo me resulta más fácil en inglés, pero...
Okay, now we can do it in English,
all right.
And you can say some words if you want in Spanish. So, Traian, can you tell us a little bit of your background, academic background, family experience that you think that has something to do with what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this. One big experience for me was rollerblading.
Okay.
I was doing this like hardcore. It was super important for me. I was part of a gang of rollerbladers, and we were at one point I started to become sponsored. So I was doing it like well.
Okay.
But what was like defining for what followed is that these cultures like rollerblading, or you go to a kite surfing, golf, or to a skate park. These are very strong learning cultures. So I was part of this strong learning culture. Each one is on his own, with his own motivation, with his own energy. You can do more riskier things or less riskier things. You can put more energy, more sweat into it, or less. Okay. So each one is on its own. But the culture around, like the people, they give you a lot of stimulations. Like you play games, you give each other feedback. So a skate park is a great learning environment, and I was part of that. So when I went to the Polytechnic University of Bucharest as a student, I was getting the opposite. It's like a very stiff environment.
What kind of career or program you
I was
choose?
Into electrical engineering.
Okay.
So that's my
interesting
major. And after 2 years, I was very disappointed. So there were several things that were disappointing me, but the most, like at the core of it, was that I didn't have any say in my own education. So I was there to spend 5 years. According to a plan, I had no power to change. And so this was really annoying. So at one point I was trying to get my colleagues to do a website where to criticize professors.
Okay.
And they didn't want to, so I ended up at the student organization and ended up being an activist there, and then went on to the national level. So I spent 5 years as a student activist trying to make the universities in Romania be more student-centered. That was our concept. We were promoting the Bologna process and all that. So I was involved with the academic.
What was the main purpose of this student-centered design? Was in terms of decision making, in terms of curriculum, all of them?
Curriculum first was on my radar. So the ability of each student to design, at least in part, their own path. So if you have 60 credits a year, at least 20 would be in your choice. So you could go to a different university even, or different specializations, or even choose the ECTS system, European Credit Transfer System, allows you to have different experience than classes. So you could go to have some work or some project. So we were dreaming about this flexibility.
Why? Why, when the premise is that you go to a university to take sometimes, but I'm not agreeing with this, but to take a specialization in an area that could help you in the labor market. let's say. Why then flexibility?
Well, two reasons. One is that the kind of engineer they designed is a kind of engineer, like they didn't knew me when they designed it. So I'm Traian, I will be a particular type of engineer. I want to take part in building that person, that professional. So they had no idea about who I am when they designed it for me. So one aspect is that. Another aspect is that they not always do a good job in designing. So for example, I'll give you the example from my university. Some classes you would have them there because there was some power like dynamic between the teachers and all that. So some would get more classes, some would get less classes. There would be some exchanges. Okay. Like this department gets a course here and this department gets a course here. So not always like a very thoughtful design for us, the students.
And when you finish your program, do you went to work as an engineer, or what happened after that?
No, the thing is that after being an activist for 5 years as a student, all I could dream of was changing universities.
Okay.
So for me, it was like I could be an engineer and be frustrated and write on forums each night about education, or I could actually go and try to do something about education. So what we did, me and a couple of other student activists, we said, let's make our own university.
How do you get to in terms of, and now I'm thinking of this as a venture, how do you say, is that viable? Is this something that could be done? How was the process of saying, let's do this, or how are we going to pilot this to try if this is going to work? What support? I don't know. Try to explain a little bit of the process of, building an university or academic experience is like one of the most one of the sectors with the highest entry barriers and challenges.
Yeah.
How was that process?
Well, for one, I'm not doing things because they are possible or they will turn out successful. My personal vision is that you have a value, you value something, then you go act the best as you can towards that value. So you need to honor that. Mm-hmm. So if for me it was really important to try to change universities, it was not about whether I succeed or not. It was, I wanted to do that the best way that was possible in the context. Okay. So that was one thing. So when we said we're going to do a university, we didn't calculate how much time it will take and all that. One thing that was happening back then is that we wouldn't say to people that we're building a university because they would laugh.
Right. Okay.
So we created an organization for sort of a resource center for other student organizations. Mm-hmm. And we started with that for 3 years. And when we were ready, we had the possibility to move into a bigger space. We rented the space, we renovated it and all that. And we finished like a short booklet. We would call it the University of the Future. Okay. So we finished the booklet about the model and we had the space. Then we had the courage to say, this is a university.
It is a university.
En breve regresamos con Jáquers, emprendimiento, innovación, marcando la diferencia. Regresamos a Jáquers, profesionales del emprendimiento y la innovación.
So what are like the basis of the project, like the main values that are where the university is built?
So we have 4 principles, and they get back to values. I'm gonna get to values okay. in a bit. One principle is self-determined learning. Mm-hmm. So all learning should be self-determined. This means that you design your own learning, but also you own the results. Like you can do nothing if you want to, okay. or you can do everything. So it's not on the university to watch your goals. It's on you to okay. watch your goals. And in the practice, we have a process that's called counseling for self-directed learning, where people can get help so they could write learning goals, and then find ways to achieve those. We have mentorship, we have coaching, so it's an environment full of resources. It's not about you learning on your own. It's just about you deciding on your own, and then the environment helps you. And this is about values, because when you self-determine your learning, you tend to get to your deepest values. You tend to do the stuff that's really important for you. So that's one thing, self-determined learning. And the second thing is a value-based community. So you get together with other people to learn, not because you share a topic of interest, but because of share of way of being. So some values. So for example, we have this value of learning like crazy. Everybody values learning, but we value it like crazy. We take risks for this. We invest a lot in learning. Being kind to yourself and to others, another value. Playing like a child. You would see here like people being childish around here and being like easygoing and all this. It's a value. We get together because we share this value. So you have this axis of values. You have on one side you anchor your learning in yourself, in what you value, and you have a value-based community. And this axis gives a lot of power to your learning. This is the source of energy and power. And then you have a more classical approach to learning, other two principles. One, learning starts from real life. So you need to have a real life challenge that you care about, for real. For example, we have a business incubator for people that want to start a business. We have people that work in student NGOs or other NGOs. So
that's the one related to impact, right?
You should have something to, like a fight that is real. And this is where your questions start. And this is where your answers go to reality check. And the second principle is about this space of conversation and reflection. So if you have, at the same time as you're like struggling with reality, you have a space where you can debrief that and think about that. And this space for us is not usually, like classically, is about concepts and theories. For us, it's about relationships. So you have like even a book is a relationship. Of you are speaking with the author, right. But you're looking for relationships that are more fluid, that you can ask questions to and get answers back and all that. So in a way, what we think about a community of practice, people that are practicing the same thing, and you get involved into this community of practice and you take part in the conversation. When you read a book and get some concepts, but also when
like
you're
collective learning experience. And you have like 4 main areas, in terms of entrepreneurship, education, the media, and the management.
We're gonna change that.
How do you get there? How do you get to those 4 areas in the first place?
Well, I'll be very straightforward with you from the history of what happened. So we don't really believe in. We're more anti-disciplinary than this. So I'm anti-disciplinary. I don't think disciplines, like fragmenting knowledge, human knowledge into disciplines, is a useful thing.
Life doesn't work that way.
No. But when people would come here, they would ask, what are we learning? So they come with this mental model of what...
Because they were born and raised in that structure of disciplines or
careers. So why do I study here? So we needed to articulate this as, we're going to study entrepreneurship and communication.
So this was kind of a trade-off with the market. You want to say
that
in some way.
What it is. What it was. And now we're going to take a bold move to scrap that. And we're going to switch to causes. So when you come to the alternative university, it's not going to be about a topic. It's going to be about a cause. What is a cause you care about? Is it organic agriculture? Is it freedom-centered workplaces? And so on and so on. So this is how we're going to structure. This is how we're going to answer the question, what do I learn here?
What has been like some feedback or examples of people that has gone through the program First, a little bit of the profile, because yesterday we were talking about ages, which is very different. Not just students from high school. First, talk a little bit about the profile of those participants, and then what's going on after the process. What feedback are you getting from them, from their experiences?
One thing that we started building this university in a relationship with student organizations.
Okay.
So we were getting students that were part of student organizations, and they wanted a learning environment that is more than they were getting. And this was like a very particular profile, because you have somebody that is not pleased by what the university offers. So that person goes to a student organization, and then in that student organization, although like it's full of things to do and it's a pretty rich environment in learning, that person said, it's not enough. I'm going to go to another community to learn even more.
Okay.
So the people that were used to come in the beginning, they were like very motivated, looking for something, and they wouldn't find it, very ambitious and all that. So we were getting like a very hardcore profile.
Okay.
And this is why I'm not very eager to take credit for what they become afterwards. So they were already, I mean, it was highly unlikely that they wouldn't have successful paths. We can only take credit for the fact that they choose us, like for 1 or 2 years in their lives. They said, this is a good environment for me. Okay. So this is one thing about where they went. And some profiles, for example, we have Sylvia. She used to be part of a student NGO in psychology, and she came to a conference that we were organizing about democratic education, and she got hooked by this model of democratic education. So she ended up in a group of people that wanted to create a democratic school in Romania, the first one, because we don't have any. And she tried to coordinate that group. She was like the youngest.
Okay.
She was the youngest in the group, and nothing came out of that group. After a year of struggles, that group dismantled. And she said, you know what, I still want to do this democratic thing. How can I do it? So we sat together and like, maybe we do a community for high schoolers, and this community turns into a democratic high school.
Okay.
So this was happening 5 years ago. And what I see it as a success that for the past 5 years, she's been at it. So she started with a small urban adventure, and she got the high school kids involved. And then with them, they self-organized a camp. And from that camp, they self-organized the learning community for high school people. And now it's like, after 5 years of learning how to manage this learning community for high school people, it's doable to think of the high school, like this formal high school. And what I appreciate about that is that one person that goes on his own path, there's no one that did this before, at least in Romania, and keeps at it for 5 years, doing her own thing. So this is a thing I really appreciate in our results.
En breve regresamos con Jáquers, emprendimiento, innovación, marcando la diferencia. Regresamos a Jáquers, profesionales del emprendimiento y la innovación.
One question regarding the organizational structure. We just came from a Freedom Center organizations workshop, and it's very interesting how an organization can implement and live the values they are trying to promote. So tell us a little bit about how the university is organized in terms of decision making, management.
Yeah, we're totally non-hierarchical. So we don't have, what we say is like each person that gets into the team, write whatever you want on your business card. We have no. Each one invents his own role here.
Okay.
So you can write whatever you want. You can see your CEO, your president, your whatever you want to be. We take decisions by consensus and now consent, as Corina was mentioning.
Oh, okay.
So
You're moving from consensus to consent.
yeah, I was part of the team when we had consensus,
Okay.
and I think that there is a lot of value in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not part of this new model, so I cannot speak about how it works. So we take decision. Everybody needs to agree on something.
And who? When you mean all, it's who?
So
Like
we
a
were.
board?
There is we call it a core team.
Okay.
So there's a core team that is organizing everything that needs to be organized, and that core team also engages the bigger community.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at a particular event, for example, our yearly camp, there is a call. Who wants to organize the camp? And many people from all the community, they come together. It's not only the core team. So we have many things that go like this. But there is also a core team.
Okay.
So this core team is made of full-time employees and the students that want to join for a year.
Okay.
So anybody can join this core team. They need to commit at least half of their time, like to be part-time in the team. The students that join, they're not paid. So they do this on a voluntary basis. And there are some people that are paid, like they're more longer term.
Okay.
And in this team, students and full-time employees, they are equal. So if a student joins the team and says, I don't want us to do this, then we don't do it.
Okay.
Of course, this is like, it's easier for people to imagine like this very nasty environment where one person can block everything and all that. But if you have a trust culture, this doesn't happen. Everyone, I mean, we're there for different reasons, and we want to hear every opinion, and we want to move fast through things, so we won't.
Right.
It's sort of it's the culture that is taken care of.
I was going to ask regarding challenges, and I will go straight to one of them. How do you get to students when they used to traditional structure, when the fathers, the society, everyone, it's moving them through a traditional structure? How do you get to customers? And then other challenges that you have faced in the last few years.
This is a struggle, how to get to people that are like this, but they don't know it yet.
Yeah.
And it's been very hard for us to get outside of this tight community. So how it works, we have some people that are close, they are part of the whole thing, and they are so enthusiastic about what they're living here that they get to speak with their friends and people around them. So we get like their friends and close people. That's easy. But it was very hard for us to explain what we're doing to people that don't have this trust experience, like you tell me it's awesome and I trust you because I know you and all that. And it's been very hard to get out of that. So we get some people that show up here and they start to sniff around, and they understand quickly that it is what they're looking for. But it's more rare. It's a rare thing for this to happen. So it's a constant struggle. Each year we have a recruiting campaign, and it's a struggle because our financial model depends on this. So we need a certain number of students, a specific number of students, so we could cover like the space and the full-time employees. Yeah, so each year we're like trying to break away from only friends of friends.
Right.
And
to move into different circles.
Yeah.
You mentioned before something about social technology. I really want you to give us a brief on that concept because I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think when I look at the world right now, I see that we got this thing about innovating in technology, like actual technology, like smartphones and lasers and particle accelerators. But we're really, I guess we're dumb or not that quick to innovate on our social structures. And that meaning the way we relate, the way we are motivated to live our lives, what it means to be human, what it means to be, I don't know, well-dressed or civilized or articulate what thoughts were entertained and all that. So the experience of being human, we're not innovating on that. It's the same 500-year-old structure that moves the world. It's like colonialism and greed, and I see it as a pattern. And I see it as a pattern even in that person that sets up his donut shop and then wants to conquer the world with the donuts. Why do you want to have everybody eating your donuts? Maybe there's some donut guy in Brazil that could set up something local and unique. So
even that conquer aspect has been very traditional for
even if you do it with donuts, I still think it's the same pattern.
Oh, one question. I have two final questions, so I can get to the airport in time. I will let you know if I get to the plane. But this is very important conversation. You have been out there, traveling the world. Also, the world. After this experience, universities are one of those traditional structures that have been doing the same things for centuries. What do you think? Some reflection on the future of universities and university education.
I hope it will be dismantled as it is, as we know it right now, and replaced by something else. I will work for the next 10 years to do just that.
Okay.
I will dedicate myself to this dream. I think it's really important to rethink the relationship between the generations. So in this world we're living, where we know so many of the things we're doing, we need to change them for the species to survive and everything. What is the proper relationship between the generations? And I think universities, like it's that period of time where you're no longer a child, not yet an adult, and you're exploring for your place in the world. The question is, how should you explore for that place? And I think you should use more of your instincts that you cannot articulate yet, but you should use more of your instincts and less of the instincts of people that are in their 50s. And so I dream about a worldwide self-governing university, student-governed university, where people can look for their place in the world, honoring their instincts. And of course, it will have experienced people around, but they would be invited by the students on their own terms.
Around your terms, right?
Yeah.
You start answering the last question. In the other side, there are a lot of students that are now in the university. My students are students around the world. They're doing it right now. What could be some advices that you could give them to try to create that experience in between, the change of the structure?
I mean, the big advice I would give is that the university structure does not live in the university itself. It lives in your head. So if you can liberate your imagination from that structure, then you're free, you're already free. University can become like this awesome environment where you have interesting people to talk to. So the university can become quite a resource,
right,
if you liberate yourself from its structure.
Great, I think that's enough. I had to thank you for your time and hope we can continue this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
And please come back.
Yeah, I will.
Gracias por habernos acompañado en Jáquers. La próxima semana los esperamos en un espacio en donde seguiremos en contacto con los profesionales que dejan su huella a través del emprendimiento y la innovación.